I wasn't supposed to hear them. That's the part that still messes with me. If I hadn't come home early that Thursday, if my meeting hadn't been canceled last minute, if I hadn't walked into the apartment quietly because I was trying not to wake Aiden from what I assumed was one of his afternoon naps, I probably never would have known. But I did. And once you hear something like that, you can't unhear it. Aiden and I had been roommates for almost 8 months. We met through a mutual friend who swore we'd get along because we were both chill and low maintenance, which was mostly true. We split bills on time. We didn't steal each other's food. We gave each other space. He worked remote in marketing. I worked at a physical therapy clinic. So most mornings I'd leave before he even rolled out of bed. When I'd get home, he'd usually be at his desk with headphones on, typing away. We weren't best friends, but we had a rhythm. Late-night takeout, random gym sessions together, watching dumb reality shows on the couch. Comfortable. Too comfortable, maybe. The first time I noticed something was off was about a month ago. I'd walked past his room and heard my name. Waylon. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just soft. Almost thoughtful. I slowed down without meaning to. His door was slightly cracked. I figured he was on the phone. Then I heard him again. I don't know why he does that. It drives me insane. My stomach tightened. I stood there like an idiot for a solid 5 seconds before realizing how bad that looked. So I forced myself to keep walking, heart beating harder than it should have been. That night, I overanalyzed everything. Did I leave dishes in the sink? Did I forget to Venmo him for utilities? Was I being annoying without realizing it? The next day, he acted completely normal. Made coffee. Asked how work was. Sent me a meme later about one of our patients who walked like a zombie. So I convinced myself I imagined the tone. But then it happened again. A week later, I was grabbing my jacket from the hallway closet when I heard his voice through his door. Lower this time. More private. I swear, when he smiles at me like that, I lose my train of thought. I froze. There was a pause. Then I heard something I didn't expect. A soft exhale. Almost shaky. He has no idea. I didn't wait to hear more. I left. That sentence replayed in my head the entire drive to work. He has no idea. No idea about what? I tried to brush it off. Maybe he was talking about someone else. Maybe I was being narcissistic, assuming everything revolved around me. But deep down, I knew. Aiden didn't bring people over much. He didn't talk about dating. Whenever I asked, he'd shrug it off. Not really seeing anyone right now. I figured he just wasn't into relationships. Still, something about the way he'd been looking at me lately felt different. Like he was studying me when he thought I wasn't paying attention. And I'd noticed. I just hadn't let myself think too hard about it. Because here's the thing. I'm not oblivious. I know when someone's attracted to me. And I'd caught myself wondering about Aiden too. Late at night. In ways that weren't exactly roommate-friendly. Till Thursday. I came home around 2 p.m. The apartment was quiet. No TV. No music. Just the faint hum of his desk fan. I set my keys down softly and headed toward my room. That's when I heard it. His voice. Clear. Focused. And definitely not on a call. Voice note, May 12th. My stomach dropped. Voice note? I stopped walking. There was a small gap in his door again. And I could hear him. This is stupid, he muttered. But I need to get it out somewhere. There was a pause. I could picture him sitting at his desk, phone in hand. Then, Waylon wore that black t-shirt again today. My chest tightened so fast it almost hurt. I don't know why that shirt messes with my head so much. It fits him perfectly. And when he stretches in the kitchen, he cut himself off with a frustrated sigh. This is getting out of hand. I felt heat rush up my neck. He wasn't complaining about me. He was talking about me. Recording himself talking about me. I should have walked away. I should have given him privacy. But I didn't move. I keep telling myself it's just a phase. He continued quietly. He's my roommate. That's it. But then he laughs at something stupid I say and looks at me like I matter. And I just... Another pause. Longer this time. I think I'm in trouble. My heart was pounding so loud I was convinced he could hear it through the wall. There was a small shift of his chair. I notice everything about him. The way he rubs the back of his neck when he's stressed. The way he checks on me when I've had a bad day. The way he doesn't realize how attractive he is. My throat felt dry. I wasn't breathing properly. He'd never see me like that, Aiden said softly. He's probably straight. Or even if he's not, I don't think I'm his type. I almost laughed at how wrong he was. But I didn't. I stayed there, frozen, as he finished. I just needed to say it somewhere. Because if I keep pretending I don't feel this, it's going to eat me alive. A click. Silence. I stepped back so fast I nearly knocked over a plant. My brain was scrambling. Voice notes. Plural. He'd said the date. That meant there were more. How many times had he done this? How long had he been recording himself talking about me? And why did it make my chest feel warm instead of angry? I should have felt violated. Weirded out. Instead, I felt exposed in a way I couldn't explain. Because I'd been having thoughts too. Thoughts about the way Aiden's voice drops when he's tired. About the way his hands look when he's cooking. About what it would feel like if he ever stopped holding back. But I never imagined he was sitting in his room, whispering my name into his phone like a secret. I walked to my bedroom in a daze, sat on the edge of my bed, and realized one terrifying thing. I wanted to hear the rest of them. And that's when I knew this wasn't just his secret anymore. It was ours. I lasted 4 hours. 4 painfully slow, distracted, borderline humiliating hours. I tried to work out in the living room like I normally do on Thursdays. Tried to answer emails. Tried to scroll through my phone like I wasn't replaying his words over and over in my head. He'd never see me like that. If only he knew. The worst part? He had no idea I'd heard any of it. Around 6, he came out of his room like nothing had happened. Gray hoodie, messy hair, that slightly tired look he gets after staring at a screen all day. "Hey," he said casually. "You're home early." I looked up from the couch, trying to keep my face neutral. "Meeting got canceled." He nodded, heading toward the kitchen. Lucky. Lucky wasn't the word I'd use. I watched him move around like I always do. The way he leans against the counter when he waits for the microwave. The way he absent-mindedly scratches his jaw when he's thinking. Now every little thing felt loaded. He grabbed a glass of water, then glanced at me. "You good? You're kinda quiet." My heart kicked. "Yeah," I said too quickly. "Just tired." He studied me for a second longer than usual. That look again, like he was trying to read something under the surface. Then he looked away. We ended up ordering Thai and watching some dumb dating show. The kind where everyone pretends they're there for connection, but really just wants screen time. Normally, we'd make commentary the entire episode. But tonight, there was tension. Subtle, but there. At one point, a guy on the show confessed feelings for his best friend, and the girl freaked out. Aiden shifted beside me. "See, that's why you don't cross lines," he muttered. I swallowed. "What lines?" He shrugged, eyes still on the TV. "When you live with someone, it's just easier to keep things simple." My pulse spiked. "You ever not keep things simple?" I asked carefully. He froze. It was small, but I felt it. His body went still for half a second. Then he gave a half laugh. "Not if I can help it." That hurt more than I expected, because now I knew what he meant. He was actively holding himself back. From me. And I didn't know whether to respect that or ruin it completely. Later that night, I lay in bed staring at my ceiling. His room was across the hall. I kept thinking about those voice notes. How many were there? How far back did they go? Was today the first one? Or had he been recording these thoughts for weeks? The curiosity started eating at me. It wasn't just ego. It wasn't just attraction. It was vulnerability. He'd sounded honest in a way I'd never heard him be out loud. And part of me wanted to know how deep it went. Around midnight, I heard his door open. Bathroom trip. Water running. Then silence again. I sat up. This was insane. But my feet were already on the floor. The hallway was dark. Only the faint light from the street coming through the window. His door was slightly open. I could hear the low hum of his fan. He'd always been a heavy sleeper. I stood there, staring at the gap. You shouldn't. I knew that. But he'd said my name. Over and over. I pushed the door open slowly. He was asleep. On his side. Facing the wall. Phone on his nightstand. Screen dark. I stepped inside. Heart in my throat. Every movement felt too loud. I stood next to his bed for a full 10 seconds. Just listening to his breathing. This was a line. A real one. And I was about to cross it. I picked up his phone. Locked. Of course. I exhaled quietly. Then I noticed something. A small notification on the screen. Voice memos. 2 new recordings. My stomach flipped. I shouldn't. I really shouldn't. But curiosity won. I turned slightly, angling the phone so the screen light wouldn't hit his face. He used Face ID. And in the dim glow, it unlocked. I froze. My heart was about to beat out of my chest. The voice memo app was still open. A list. Dates. April 28th. May 3rd. May 7th. May 12th. There were more than I expected. Way more. The titles weren't labeled with my name. Just dates. Like he was cataloging something private. My thumb hovered over the most recent one. May 12th. The one I'd heard earlier. I pressed play. I kept the volume low, holding the phone close to my ear. His voice filled the silence. Voice note, May 12th. Hearing it again sent a weird rush through me. It was different through headphones than through a wall. He talked about the black t-shirt. About the way I stretch in the kitchen. About how he feels stupid even admitting it. Then the part that made my chest tighten all over again. He looks at me like I matter. I swallowed hard. Because that part wasn't imagined. I do look at him like that. When it ended, I hesitated. Then I tapped the one before it. May 7th. Voice note, May 7th. I almost told him tonight. My entire body went still. I don't even know what I would have said. Hey, Waylon. By the way, I think about you when I'm trying to fall asleep. That would go over great. He gave a quiet, self-deprecating laugh. I hate this. I hate not knowing if there's even a chance. There was a long pause in the recording. Then softer. I think I'd ruin everything if I said it out loud. I felt something twist in my chest. Guilt. Because here I was, standing in his room, proving him right. If he found out I was doing this, I would ruin everything. And right as that thought hit me, the mattress shifted. I froze. Slowly, carefully, I turned my head. Aiden had rolled onto his back. Eyes half open, blinking, adjusting to the dark. And then, he looked straight at me, standing there, holding his phone. Time didn't just slow down. It stopped. Aiden's eyes weren't fully focused at first, just heavy with sleep, confused. Then they sharpened, and landed on me, on his phone in my hand. The realization hit his face in stages. Confusion, recognition, then something like fear. Waylon. His voice was rough, barely above a whisper. My brain short-circuited. I should have said something immediately. Anything. A joke. An excuse. Instead, I just stood there like an idiot caught red-handed. My throat felt dry. I heard you earlier. That was the worst possible opening. His jaw tightened slightly. You heard what? I swallowed and forced myself not to look away. The voice note. Silence. Not the comfortable kind. The kind that feels like all the air has been pulled out of the room. His eyes flicked to the phone in my hand, then back to my face. How much? He asked quietly. There was no anger in his voice, just something fragile. All of it, I admitted. And some of the others. That one landed. I saw it. The way his expression shifted. Not furious. Not explosive. Just exposed. Like I'd peeled something back that he'd been trying to protect. He slowly pushed himself up, sitting against the headboard. Blanket pooling around his waist. You went through my phone, he said. Not accusing. Just stating it. Yeah. God, I sounded awful. I shouldn't have. I know that. He rubbed his face with one hand, exhaling hard. For a second, I thought he might tell me to get out. Instead, he said, Why? That caught me off guard. Why what? Why'd you listen? Because I'm nosy. Because my ego liked it. Because I wanted proof. All of those answers flashed through my head. But the truth was simpler. Because I needed to know if you meant it. His eyes snapped back to mine. Meant what? Everything. My heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear my own voice. The way you talk about me. The way you feel. The word hung there. Feel. He looked at me like he was trying to decide if this was some kind of trap. You think I'd fake voice notes to myself? He asked, a small, bitter edge creeping in. No. I ran a hand through my hair. I didn't know if it was just attraction or if it was something more. His throat moved as he swallowed. It's not just attraction. That was quiet, but steady. I stepped a little closer without thinking. How long? I asked. He hesitated. Since March. March. That was 3 months ago. 3 months of him sitting in this room, talking into his phone instead of saying it to me. Why didn't you just tell me? I asked softly. A humorless laugh escaped him. Because I like living here. Because I like you in my life. Because if you didn't feel the same way, I'd lose both. That hit harder than anything else. He wasn't afraid of rejection. He was afraid of losing me. I realized I was still holding his phone. I gently set it back on the nightstand. I didn't know, I said. I swear I didn't. I know, he replied immediately. That's kind of the problem. There was no bitterness in it. Just honesty. I moved closer again, now standing right beside the bed. You said something in the May 7th one, I said. His eyes narrowed slightly. You listened to that too? Yeah. He groaned quietly. Great. You said you almost told me. He didn't respond. You said you think about me when you're trying to fall asleep. His face flushed. Even in the dim light, I could see it. I can't believe you're quoting my own humiliation back at me. It's not humiliation. He looked up at me then. Aiden, I said quietly. Do you know how many times I've stood in the kitchen pretending not to notice you looking at me? His breathing changed. Just slightly. I thought I was imagining it, I continued. Or projecting. He didn't move. I've wanted to say something too. That broke something open in his expression. Don't, he said quickly. Don't say that just because you feel bad. I'm not. He searched my face. For doubt. For hesitation. He didn't find it. You're not straight, he said carefully. It wasn't a question. No, I admitted. I'm not. A small exhale left him. Relief. You didn't tell me. You didn't ask. He let out a quiet huff of a laugh at that. You really listened to all of them? He asked. Not all, I said. Just the last 2. He nodded slowly. There's one from April where I talk about your hands for 3 minutes straight. That made me smile. Your hands are distracting, he added, like he couldn't help himself. Good to know. Silence settled again. But it wasn't suffocating this time. It was charged. He looked down at his lap, then back up at me. You know the worst part? He said quietly. What? I meant every word. And now I can't take any of it back. I leaned in slightly. I don't want you to. That was the honest truth. We'd skipped every step. No flirting phase. No testing the waters. Just straight into vulnerability. I don't want to ruin what we have, he said. I held his gaze. What if this doesn't ruin it? I could see the conflict in him. He inhaled slowly. Waylon. It was half warning, half plea. And before I could overthink it, I closed the distance. Not fully. Just enough that our foreheads almost touched. He went completely still. You don't have to record it, I whispered. You can just say it to me. His breath hitched. And in the space between us, in the quiet of his room, he finally said it out loud. His throat moved as he swallowed. I felt it, because we were that close. I'm in love with you. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was steady, terrified, honest. And it hit me harder than anything he'd recorded on those voice notes. I didn't pull away. I didn't laugh. I didn't panic. I just stayed there, forehead almost touching his, breathing the same air. You don't get to say that and then hide behind a phone anymore, I whispered. A shaky breath left him. I wasn't hiding. You were. His hands tightened in the blanket. I was surviving. That shut me up for a second. Because I understood that. Keeping it contained, controlled, safe. Loving someone quietly is sometimes easier than risking everything. I'm sorry I listened, I said softer now. That wasn't fair. He hesitated. Were you going to tell me? Eventually. When? He gave a small, helpless shrug. When it stopped feeling like I was about to lose you just by thinking it. That did something to me. I don't feel like I'm losing you, I said. You don't know that. I do. His voice dropped. Waylon, if this goes wrong, I can't just move down the hall and pretend we're fine. I know. Silence. Heavy. Not tense, just real. I need to know something, he said finally. Okay. Are you here because you're curious? Or because you actually feel something? There it was. The real question. Not attraction. Not tension. Something deeper. I leaned back just enough to look at him. You remember in April when I sprained my wrist at work? His brows furrowed slightly. Yeah. You stayed up with me until 3 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. That's not. Let me finish. He did. I kept pretending it didn't mean anything that you sat there half asleep just so I wouldn't feel alone. I kept pretending it didn't mess with me when you check on me randomly during the day. I kept pretending I didn't notice the way you soften when you talk to me. His breathing slowed. Listening. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to make it weird either, I admitted. I didn't know if I was imagining it. A quiet, almost disbelieving laugh left him. You're unbelievable, he muttered. Why? You went through my phone and somehow I'm the one who feels exposed. I smiled slightly. You are exposed. He shook his head. You really listened to me talking about your hands? 3 minutes is excessive, by the way. That earned me a small smile. God, I'd missed that smile. The real one. The unguarded one. Then it faded. Say it, he said. Say what? What you feel. My chest tightened. I could have softened it. Could have dodged. But he deserved the truth. I'm in love with you too. There. No recording. No walls. Just us. His entire body stilled. Like he didn't trust his ears. Don't, he whispered. Don't say that if you're not sure. I wouldn't. He searched my face again. For cracks. There weren't any. Because I'd been feeling it for months too. I just didn't know he was right there with me. His hand moved slowly. Carefully. Like I might disappear if he moved too fast. It hovered near mine on the bed. Can I? He asked quietly. I didn't answer with words. I just turned my hand over. He slid his fingers into mine. And the second our hands locked, something in the room shifted. It wasn't explosive. It wasn't desperate. It was grounding. Like everything that had been circling around us finally settled. His thumb brushed lightly over my knuckles. I've imagined this so many times, he admitted. That makes one of us. He raised an eyebrow. You haven't. You're such a liar. Not about this. We sat there like that for what felt like forever. Hands intertwined. Foreheads close. Breathing synced. I'm scared, he admitted quietly. Me too. Good. I smiled. Why is that good? Because it means this actually matters. I couldn't argue with that. His forehead rested against mine again. You heard everything, he whispered. Yeah. Even the part where I said I think about you when I'm trying to fall asleep? I smiled faintly. Especially that part. His cheeks flushed again. Good, I said softly. Because now you don't have to imagine it. His breath hitched. You're dangerous. Only when necessary. A small laugh escaped him. But his eyes were serious. Hopeful. Terrified. Stay? He asked quietly. I knew what he meant. Not just tonight. Stay in this. Stay with him. I squeezed his hand. I'm not going anywhere. And for the first time since I heard my name through that door, neither was he. I didn't go back to my room that night. Turned onto his side so we were facing each other fully. The streetlight outside cast faint shadows across his face, highlighting the nervous tension still lingering in his expression. You're not freaking out? He asked quietly. Are you? A little. I nodded. Same. That seemed to relax him. At least we were honest. I keep thinking you're going to wake up tomorrow and regret this, he admitted. I let out a slow breath. I heard you say you think I'd never see you like that, I said. Do you really think I'd kiss you just to experiment? He hesitated. I don't know. I've had a lot of time to imagine worst-case scenarios. That's because you were alone with it. Not awkward. Just adjusting. I didn't realize how much pressure I was putting on myself, he said eventually. Recording those stupid voice notes like they were safer than just talking to you. They weren't stupid. He huffed softly. They were dramatic. They were honest. That landed. He looked at me like I just handed something back to him that he didn't expect to get. You really listened to the May 7th one? He asked again, like he still couldn't believe it. Yeah. You heard the part where I said I'd ruin everything if I told you. I did. And you still came in here. I held his gaze. You don't ruin something by telling the truth. His expression shifted. Less guarded. More open. You know what the worst one is? He said quietly. Which one? April 28th. I raised an eyebrow. What happened April 28th? He looked almost embarrassed. That's the one where I realized I was past just having a crush. Something tightened in my chest. What changed? You were on the couch, half asleep, and you called my name like you needed me. I blinked. I don't remember that. You were exhausted. You just mumbled it. He swallowed. And I remember thinking, I'd do anything if you actually needed me like that. That wasn't lust. That wasn't curiosity. That was love. I do need you, I said quietly. His breath caught again. Don't say that unless you mean it. I mean it. There it was again. That fragile line between vulnerability and fear. You really weren't going to say anything? I asked gently. He shook his head. I had a plan. Oh God. Don't judge it. I'm already judging it. He gave me a faint smile. I was going to wait until our lease renewal conversation. If you said you wanted to move out, I was going to tell you before you left. My chest tightened. That's your plan. It was strategic. It was emotional self-sabotage. He laughed softly. Probably. I studied him in the dim light. 3 months of him sitting alone in this room, whispering into his phone instead of risking rejection. And I'd been 10 feet away the entire time. You don't have to do that anymore, I said. Do what? Love me quietly. The words settled between us. Heavy. Real. His eyes searched mine again. You're sure? He asked, barely audible. I nodded. Yeah. He leaned forward, kissing me again. I feel like I've been holding my breath for months, he whispered. Then breathe. He did. Slow. Shaky. Then steadier. That night wasn't about proving anything. It was about finally letting ourselves stop pretending. He fell asleep first, still holding my hand. And for the first time since I moved into that apartment, I didn't feel like we were just roommates. I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The next morning was the real test, and I had no idea how much it was about to change everything. I woke up before he did. I studied him for a moment. His hair falling into his eyes, his mouth slightly parted in sleep. This wasn't a secret anymore, and that was terrifying. My brain started racing immediately. What happens now? Do we talk about it? Do we act normal? Do we tell people? Do we what? He stirred slightly, brows furrowing before his eyes slowly opened. For half a second, he looked disoriented. Then he saw me, and everything came rushing back into his expression. Oh, he whispered. I smiled faintly. Morning. There was a pause. The kind where both people are waiting to see if the other pulls away. He didn't. Instead, he tightened his fingers around mine slightly. You're still here, he said quietly. Yeah. Another pause. You're not pretending last night didn't happen? I raised an eyebrow. You? No. Then I'm not either. Relief washed over his face so openly it almost hurt to watch. He rolled onto his back, staring at the ceiling for a second. This is insane, he muttered. Why? Because 3 days ago, I was recording voice notes about you like some hopeless idiot. And now you're in my bed. I propped myself up slightly on my elbow. You weren't an idiot. He glanced at me. I felt like one. Because you cared. He was quiet for a second. Yeah, he admitted. We lay there in silence again. But it felt different than the night before. Less charged. More grounded. Then reality knocked. Hard. What do we do about living together? He asked. There it was. The practical part. I exhaled slowly. We don't panic. That's not a plan. It's step one. He gave a faint huff of a laugh. I don't want this to turn into something messy, he said. If we fight, we can't just storm off to separate apartments. I know. And if it doesn't work out, I cut him off gently. Why are you already planning for it not to work out? He hesitated. Because I've had 3 months to think about every possible way this could crash. That made sense. He'd been living with worst-case scenarios alone. I'm not saying it won't be complicated, I said carefully. But it's not doomed just because we share a lease. He turned his head toward me. You really believe that? I believe we've already been acting like more than roommates for months. We just didn't label it. He considered that. You did make me soup when I had the flu, he admitted. You cried during that documentary and pretended it was allergies. He groaned. Don't bring that up. You literally leaned on my shoulder. I was emotionally compromised. I grinned. Exactly. His smile slowly returned, then faded into something more serious. There's something else, he said quietly. What? If this is real, I don't want to hide it. My stomach flipped slightly. Hide it how? I don't mean posting it everywhere, he clarified. I don't want to act like you're just my roommate when you're not. That hit differently. He'd been hiding his feelings for months. He didn't want to do that anymore. I don't want to hide either, I said. You sure? Yeah. He studied me carefully. My parents don't know, he added. That you're into guys? He nodded. Mine do. His brows lifted slightly. Oh, yeah. He absorbed that. Does that make this easier for you? He asked. A little, I admitted. But this isn't about them. He nodded slowly. I don't know when I'll tell mine, he said. But if I'm going to do it, I don't want it to be for some hypothetical person in the future. My chest tightened. You'd do that? I asked quietly. He met my eyes. For you? Yeah. There was no hesitation. That scared me. In a good way. In a real way. I reached up and brushed his hair out of his eyes without thinking. He stilled at the touch. You don't have to blow up your life overnight, I said softly. We just started this. He covered my hand gently with his. I know. I don't want to go back to pretending. You won't. He exhaled slowly. Okay. We stayed like that for another minute, just breathing. Then he smirked slightly. You know what's ironic? What? I have a voice note scheduled for tonight. I blinked. Scheduled? Yeah. I record one every few days. It's kind of a habit now. I laughed under my breath. What were you planning to say? He hesitated. Probably something dramatic about how I'm definitely never telling you. I shook my head. Well, now you don't need it. He looked at me thoughtfully. Maybe I'll record one anyway. Why? He squeezed my hand gently. So I can remember what it felt like before this wasn't just mine. That hit harder than I expected. Before this wasn't just mine. We weren't secrets anymore. We were shared. And for the first time, that didn't feel terrifying. The first day of being us felt suspiciously normal. That's what threw me off. I expected fireworks, or awkwardness, or at least some kind of visible shift in the air. Instead, Aiden made coffee like he always did. I leaned against the counter like I always did. We brushed past each other in the kitchen like we had 100 times before. Oh my God! I grinned. What? You're going to be unbearable. 3 months of silent yearning built character. I deserve this. He rolled his eyes, but the corner of his mouth twitched. The thing is, we didn't suddenly become a different version of ourselves. We were still us, still teasing, still comfortable. just lighter, like the tension that had been humming quietly under everything finally dissolved. That night, we sat on the couch halfway through whatever show we weren't really paying attention to. He muted the TV. "What?" I asked. He didn't answer right away, just looked at me, really looked at me. "I keep waiting for it to feel fake," he admitted. "Does it?" "No." "Good." He swallowed. "I deleted them." "What?" "The voice notes." My chest tightened unexpectedly. "Why?" "Because they were written from a place where I didn't think I'd ever get this," he said quietly. "I don't want to hold on to that version of me." That hit deeper than I expected. "You sure?" I asked softly. He nodded. "I don't need them anymore." Silence settled between us. Not heavy, just reflective. "I was scared you'd think I was obsessive," he admitted. "You were," I said honestly. His eyebrows shot up. I smiled slightly, but in a human way, not a creepy way. He exhaled slowly. "I still can't believe you were standing there listening." "Yeah, not my best moment." "No," he said quietly. "It might have been." I frowned slightly. "Why?" "Because if you hadn't, I'd probably still be pretending." That was true. We might have stayed stuck in that almost space. "What?" I wanted to hear more. More. Of the voice notes. He groaned softly, embarrassed. "Why?" "Because you sounded honest. And I liked hearing how you see me." He studied my face carefully. "You don't need recordings for that." "No, no. I can tell you directly now." My heart thudded once, hard. "Then tell me." He hesitated for half a second. Then, "You're the safest person I've ever met." That wasn't what I expected. Not attractive. Not hot. Safe. "You make me feel like I don't have to be someone else," he continued quietly. "Even when I was pretending." That did something to my chest I couldn't explain. "I never wanted you to pretend," I said. "I know. And you're not ruining anything." His gaze softened. "You really think we can make this work?" I didn't answer right away, because that question wasn't small. It wasn't just about us liking each other. It was about living together, about family, about not having the easy out of distance if things got hard. "I think," I said slowly, "that we've already built something solid. We just didn't call it what it was." He leaned his forehead against mine. "And now we stop recording it," I whispered, "and start living it." He smiled. A real one. Not guarded. Not hesitant. I realized something. The voice notes weren't the beginning. They were just proof. Proof that we'd both been standing on the same edge, afraid to jump. Until one night, I heard my name through a half-open door, and everything changed.